Hello, Jill here. Thank you for joining me today. Come on in, I have a share for you. As many of you know, in my last video, I had talked about a rice bag I was going to do with my wonky dogs because I did my wonky birds and then I started my wonky dogs. And as you know, I came up with a wonky dog that I wasn't real happy with, and I thought I got feedback from all of you who said, it's really cute, keep going, etc., etc. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for watching my, what I considered a failure. And I was going to let it sit for a while on a shelf and come back to it maybe at a later date. However, I moved forward with the project and I'm so happy I did. So I have another thank you to give you for helping me through that little spot where I felt like I wasn't happy with it. So what you actually gave me was a gift to an opportunity to take a look at it and see what I had to do to make it better. So this is what I've come up with. So I'm going to show you all four sides, and I really hope that you like it. Anyhow, and I've named each panel, so bear with me as I name them. Remember, this is the Mommy and Me rice bag, although my rice bags aren't really traditional rice bags because I tie mine different. I don't use two ties, things like that. So let's get started with Mommy and Me. And if you recognize this little guy, this was the guy I was not happy with. He had blue and yellow flowers. He just, I don't know, his body was the turkey work, which I wasn't sure I liked, but I loved his tail and certain things about him, right? So his name, this panel is called Boots and Buttons, and his name is Boots. Her name is Boots. And you could see the little flowers here. I had these little tiny, tiny, tiny little flowers, buttons. And I thought, I think I'm going to use those. And you can see that I kept his little boots. I kept his little gold shoestrings. And there she goes. Boots and buttons. The other thing I did was I put stitching. I did this, what I consider non-traditional or I did this all by hand. No machine stitching. If you look at my my wonky birds here, you can see that I hand stitch everything except for the structural elements, which were the corners and the top. And I did those via sewing machine. However, on this one, I did no sewing except for this very top edge, as you can see there. So that's Boots and Buttons. Let's move along. This is Mistletoe Rose, and I just liked her because she has her little boots with her little red shoestrings. She has very special lace for her tail and her little ear. And the flowers reminded me, and I don't know why, maybe it's the tone and the colors, reminded me of mistletoe. So I called her Mistletoe Rose, so I put a little R there for her. I also thread painted these little flowers. I'll bring it up real close so you can see. I thread painted here, here, and I put little French knots to the center of those flowers. I think you might be able to see it. It's really hard to see, but maybe this one. You can see I have little French knots there and French knots up here. So all of those little flowers have little French knots on them. So I did a little bit of more stitching on that. I put a little layer of some cheesecloth, tea stained cheesecloth down here just to give him something to sit on. And he's handed Mommy, she's handing Mommy her little flowers. Isn't that sweet? So I'm going to skip over to, oh, well, let's see. Maybe I'm not. Hold on a second. This is Maggie and Me. Maggie was my first little Bichon when my husband and I got married. She was a sweet thing, and we bred her later, and she became the mother of actually two other dogs that we kept, one out of her first litter, one out of her second. And she was just such a sweetheart. So I've named her, she's Mommy and me, Maggie. So this is Maggie. And you can see her flowers. I use some Sanderson, which is one of my favorite fabrics. Not a lot. I put some textured ribbon up here, and then I did little cross stitches on it. I don't know if you can see those, but I actually couched it down. Put her little flowers in her mouth. You can see she has her boots with her high top boots, because us girls love our high top boots, with her little red shoestrings. And then I also put her on a layer of this textured ribbon, and then I did little tiny cross stitches in the center of all of those, as you could see along there. Go slow. Okay, and I couched her tail and left the end fluffy. Of course, she has her eyelashes. Boots and Buttons, Mr. Boots. I'm not going to put eyelashes back on him. He's going to stay without eyelashes. Okay. And then my last one, I'm going to see if you can guess the name of this little baby. Her name is, oh, look at her. She's so cute. If you notice, I started to thread paint these flowers, and the yellow ones I just loved. Here, you can look at those. I love those. And I even was surprised that I liked the yellow with the pink. You know, going through the, starting this project after I thought I wasn't going to do any more on it was really an eye-opener, and I found I did like the yellow with the pink. Worst case scenario is I had to take it out, which I did not. And so I think these little flowers, which I did not want to thread paint, I kind of like the darker pink coming through the back. I think they look like peppermint candies, don't you? So her name is Peppermint Candy. I name everything. If you've been with me for a little while, you know that I name things, and it makes it easier when I'm talking with my husband, because he wouldn't remember if I said the dog with the long hair on her long fur on her ears, or if I said the dog with the eyelashes, certainly he wouldn't know. But if I say Peppermint Candy, he knows that this is the one that I'm talking about. Isn't that funny? So I used some different kind of material on the bottom here to represent the ground where she's sitting among the flowers. And then I put just a little of sloppy, messy stitches down here just to present something that might look like grass or field, and I wasn't concerned where the stitches were going or what they were. I just kind of stuck them in, put a couple of labels on them like this. And then I looked at the bag. So now I had completed the bag, and here's the bottom. And I just did a bunch of, here you can see up close, I did a bunch of running stitch. And then I wanted to add something to it. So I ended up putting the other color, which is a wonderful moss green, just a DMC that is, and put that on the bottom as well. And you can see my stitching along the edge there. So the other thing I did, and it looks like I have to put a stitch in there, but we'll get to that, was I did the inside with a dark color, and I usually don't like to use too dark of a color, because when you get in the center, it looks kind of dark down in there, right? And as you know, in rice bags, unless you make this inside a little smaller, you end up with the little, and it's a loose lining. It's not a stitched lining that attaches to these outside pieces. But I decided to do this black, I had this black with these little circles on it, and I just loved it. And I thought it went well with the theme here with the doggies, but I wanted to soften it with some lace around the top of it. And then I used this thicker cord for the, to run it through the little tabs, so as you can see. So there is my rice bag, Boots and Buttons. Mistletoe Rose. I do have to put her eyelashes back on her. Maggie. Maggie and me. And peppermint candy. So let's close up the rice bag. Like I said, I kind of hate to call them rice bags because if you notice when I pull my cord together and tie it, you're going to see now. What I like is I like this little square opening. I love that. I don't know why it pleases me, but it does. And it's got and then the four corners come in, and I end up with a nice little square, almost a 9 square, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 square on the top, and I just love that. So there's my little bag. I hope that you love it as much as I do. I have one more share with you for you today in my stitching world, so hang on one second and I'll pull that out. I think I'll leave Peppermint Candy sitting up there. She would like to see the new item. And what is my new item? Well, you know, it's November. It's actually, I started this in September, so I don't like to give them months. I'd rather give them numbers. So I had 1, 2, this was the last one I did. I happened to do that the start of October. I love that one. And now I did November. So let's look at the stitches I wanted to use on here. I'll go through them and then I'll go through the special ones. I put little French knots up here because if you look very close at this fabric, it has little flowers along the top. So I wanted to put something in there. And I wove this DMC through the lace eyelet. This lace here is very, very old. It's late 18th century. I don't have very much of it, but I wanted to include it in something that I was going to keep for myself. And I wasn't afraid, I'm proud of myself because I wasn't afraid to use it. And then I decided to use some of this fabric. I don't know, I just love this pink fabric. And this is one of the plain colors that coordinates with it. And I wanted to make a log cabin. Now it's hard to see the log cabin because of the stitching that I've done, but it is a log cabin. It's my first log cabin. And if you notice, I did it like as in the style of Sherry Iris. If you look at the white stitching, so every time I put I think I have some strips here, just 1 minute, I'll show you. Every time you put a strip down and you attach the other strip, right? And then you fold it up to get your smooth edge. I didn't put fluffy edges on that. The back side of it is essentially the seam, right? So what Sherry does is she opens her seam up and then she stitches along both of the seams. So every block has 3 lines of stitching on it. So I wanted to do that and see how I could make a log cabin. Now, this book is really for stitches, but it didn't mean I couldn't try, you know, a log cabin in my little book. So let's talk about the rest of the stitches. There's lots of running stitch on here, as you can see down here, and some red running stitch here. And of course, I outlined all the little log cabin blocks in the beautiful red. And I love that red. It's kind of a deep, deep red, and it matches well with this fabric. So the stitch that I decided to use this time is the chain stitch. And I wanted to show different variations of the chain stitch. So here we go. This first one is a simple chain stitch, but this is a reminder to me that chain stitch can be used to fill in things. If you're making wonky birds or wonky dogs, or if you're making anything, you can use dinosaurs, fish. You know, I'm thinking of things that have a textured body. Maybe for fish that would be really cute, not in green, but and maybe in green if you want green. But I thought that came out really well, and I really liked it. So I thought, well, there's the start to my chain stitch, right? So then, where should we go next? maybe we should go left to right. Okay. So in here, these are the same stitch in there. And this is the, it's a feathered chain stitch. And if you notice, they are little, oh, I'm sorry. If you notice the feathered chain stitch, they are little chain stitches, but they have this little tail on them, which makes it look more like, that's a good example, right there. Looks like a little feather. I thought those were I thought that was very cute. I loved it. I loved the zigzag. I thought it was really cute. So I added another row of a lighter, this is just DMC cotton, and I added another row just to sit in parallel with this one for part of the length. Moving on, I did a double chain stitch, and then I put two double chain let me start again. Double chain stitch here, and then I turned it upside down, and I did another double chain stitch here, and I put them what I'll call, let me spin it around again. I'm probably making you dizzy like you're at an amusement park, but I put them back to back, and that's what those ones look like. Then I wanted to do some, I knew I wanted to do not woven chain stitch. I put 2 rows of regular chain stitch on this log of the cabin, and they're just individual chain stitches like that, 2 rows. And then it's a whipped chain stitch, and then I whipped it one time on the top row, as you can see there what it looks like. So if you use, I mean, I can look at this and imagine, you know, if I wanted to pick this stitch for something else I was working on, I can clearly imagine what that's going to look like, even if I use different colors of thread, right? So then I thought I want to do a double whipped chain stitch. So again, starting with the darker green, I just did a row of chain stitch. Then I whipped it like this top row, exactly like that. And then you go back the other way. So if I started here and I started on, if I look, I did it this way. Started on the right, started on the right, put my needle through the left, and then kept going, up, up, up. Well, if you do it that way and then do it the opposite way, you end up, and these are really hard to see. Let me see. You will end up with little crosses like this on top of each of your wraps. Now they're hard to see here because this is very, very small, but they're there. And I just love how it turned out. So this is my November, or my number 4. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different kinds of chain stitch on there. So I hope you love it. I added a couple little things for texture. I added this little button down here and a little collage with, and then some running stitch, which I love, as you know. So that is my number 4 panel. And next time, after December 1st, I'll be working up a number 5 panel. So I hope you liked my share today. This is what I've brought to you. I'm so glad I'm back. I was missing you guys, and I kept working away on this bag thinking of you guys, and it does take, these take some time if you're doing all of this. The other thing I didn't mention when I was talking about them was I outlined all around the pieces, and you can see that on each one that I made, how I outlined them. And then I also went back, and this fabric was not running stitched, right? And it looked a little puffy, and I thought I wanted to make it a little flat, not flat, but I wanted to give it texture, but smooth it out a little bit and have the rumples of running stitch. So you can see those little rumples in there. And that honestly made a world of difference, and I just love this little bag now. So there you have it. My little mistletoe rose, you're so cute. And buttons and boots. I'm so glad we saved you. And we rescued this little person. Yeah. So there we go. And there's my share for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Do something you love. And until the next time,